Shalom. This week's Sedra Vayera. One of the most challenging episodes of the Torah is found at the end of this week's Torah portion. God seemingly commands Avraham to take his son Yitzchak and sacrifice him. It's difficult to understand God's charge to Avraham. Child sacrifice flies in the face of Judaism's values. In addition, God doesn't actually charge Avraham to kill Yitzchak. Rather, God sent an angel to stop Avraham. How do we understand this sort of confusing episode? The first pasuk of the episode seems to be the most challenging of the entire episode. Our portion reads, God put Avraham to the test. He said to him, Avraham, and he answered, here I am. God said, take your son, your favorite one, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the heights that I will point out to you. Our scholars all take up the question of God offering a test. It is impossible for God to need a test to assess Avram's faith in God. Ramban took up this question and explained the test. Since a man's deeds are up to him to perform the mitzvos or not to perform them, on the part of one who is tried, it is called a trial. But on the part of God, who tries the person, it is a command that the one being tested should bring forth the matter from the potential into actuality, so that he may be rewarded for a good deed, not for a good thought alone. We said that God tries the righteous, God only tries the righteous. Knowing that the righteous will do his will, God desires to make the righteous even more upright. So God commands the righteous to take a test. But God does not try the wicked who would not obey. All trials in the Torah, the Ramban says, are for the good for the one who's being tried. Radak took a different approach. It is very difficult to explain the matter of God testing someone, seeing that God knows in advance what the result of such a test is going to be. What then, the Radak asks, is the point of such a test? If the point was to demonstrate to the world at large that Avraham successfully passed such a test, how could this be accomplished in a setting where only Avraham and Yitzchak were present? He had even left the servants who had accompanied him behind, so that there were no witnesses whatsoever to his carrying out a command which he had not even told Yitzchak about into the last possible moment. Even if Avraham had told someone what had transpired on the mountain, who would have believed him? The truth is that the purpose of this trial was to demonstrate to the world Avraham's love for God. It was not meant to demonstrate anything to the generation during which Avraham lived, but to demonstrate Avraham's love to subsequent generations of people who believed in the Torah, which was handed down to us by Moshe at the command of God himself. Radak continued, after the Torah was committed to writing the story became famous throughout the world. Some people believing it, others not. Nowadays, after primitive paganism has ceased to exist in most of civilized society, most of mankind believes the story recorded in the Bible without hesitation. The Ramban maintained the episode of Avraham being told to sacrifice Yitzchak was an opportunity for Avraham to turn the commitment he felt for God into the commitment he demonstrated for God in order to gain divine reward reserved for action. Radak maintained the episode was a lesson in faith and love of God for Avraham's descendants. We are to take Avraham's dedication and copy it in our own lives. Yet they both agree God was using Avraham's commitment for a greater good. Their disagreement lies in whether the greater good was to provide Avram reward for a good example as a good example for subsequent generations. There are many times we aren't aware of the great consequence of our decisions and actions. We tend to try to escape responsibility for our actions, in our own minds at least, by thinking of ourselves as small and inconsequential. But the truth is, we are all members of the chosen people, and therefore, by definition, consequential people whose actions and decisions will matter and be a model to other people. It's an important and such an inspirational message. Shabbat Shalom.